Hey son, everyone. I hope you are all doing well and settling into the beginning of September. I know it's hard to imagine sometimes that so much of the year has gone past already, but it is back to school time. And as millions of students across the globe begin their trek to back to school, sometimes online through distance learning or online classes, or like myself, for in-person, though socially distant classes, things are a little more complicated this year. We have new things to worry about. We have new concerns, and a lot of us are going to be learning in environments that we aren't necessarily used to. So, to counteract our new and interesting realities, we're going to do a little back to school, back to basics. I know many of you will not be doing the back to school journey with us, but I'd encourage you to stick around anyways for a very particular reason.
Oftentimes, the best study habits or advice that we have for students is actually key advice for lifelong learning and creating a balanced life moving forward. Managing productivity and assignments with your overall health are crucial skills not just for students, but for all of us. In particular, those in the writing community trying to accomplish word count goals while remembering to actually drink water.
You might be wondering why I'm calling this basics, and that's because it's the basics. I'm starting grad school in a country that I've never gone to school in, which means staying on top of all my classes and my assignments is going to be very different. And I have yet to figure out how to adapt to this. But I know I'm not the only one. There are millions of students right now who are going back to school online through distance learning or in just a different environment than the one that you're used to. So, to help us go forward, let's take it back a step. The single most important thing you can do right now to make sure that you're getting your school year started on the right foot is to make sure you're getting enough sleep.
73% of students in America don't get the sleep that they need in order to function on a healthy baseline. For most students, this is between 7 and 8 hours of sleep per night. Over the long term, neglecting your sleep can lead to higher risks of hypertension, heart attack and stroke, weight gain and obesity, diabetes, and even significantly shorten your lifespan.
Even if you think you're Superman and the long-term effects of sleep deprivation over years don't concern you, the fact that that's going to make it harder to focus in math the next day should. Especially when you have online classes that don't necessarily follow a pattern, or like me, have a class structure that is going to be completely varied. Making sure that you get enough sleep means that you are better equipped to handle whatever gets thrown your way. Making sure you have your supplies in order. Now, for some classes, this is going to be tricky. Most of us have been students for years. We should, at this point in time, have some idea over what study systems work for us. Knowing what has worked for you in the past will give you some idea of the supplies that will help you now. What you don't want to do is start the first week of class and then realize that you don't have things that you'd rather have. A planner, a line ruler, a protractor, a particular type of calculator. Make sure that you have the things that you need to succeed.
This is just as true in the working world as it is in academia. Not having the supplies that you need on hand to do the job required is one of the most frustrating things you can run into. No one likes going into a job with anything less than absolutely everything they need to do the best job possible. From heavy-duty equipment to software, from pens and pads to forklifts and personal protective equipment.
If you're going to class online, this includes software. Log into as many programs as you can and test to see that your computer works with the software that they want you to use. Make sure there's no bugs, glitches, or plugins that you may need. Ask your teachers or tech support if you need help, or if you're a younger student, ask your parents. Stay organized. I mean this in a couple of different ways. I have a hard time juggling timetables. It's something that I perpetually lose track of. So, in order to make sure that I stayed organized, I did this. This is a gridlocked schedule of my life for the next 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 weeks. Step one for doing well in a class is showing up. So, knowing where I need to be and when was kind of important. But being organized is about more than knowing where to be. It's also about having everything that you need with you when you need it. For online students, this is going to be a little extra tricky this year because you're going to be home. So your stuff's going to be with you, but do you remember where you left it? My biggest problem in my room is always trying to figure out where I last put something down. So when it came to academic stuff, I usually had a bin or section where I kept everything I needed. Notebooks, textbooks, rulers. It wasn't fancy. It was actually an empty laundry basket. But if I had a school thing in my hand and I wasn't using it, I threw it in the bin, sometimes literally. Knowing that whatever I needed for a class was in that bin made my search area a lot smaller when I had to suddenly figure out where I left my algebra notes. Setting up a routine. I'm not talking about a super productive morning routine like you see in the StudyTube and ProductivityTube channels. I don't want you to learn Russian in your spare time. I don't want you to squeeze in an hour workout by waking up at 5 a.m. But having a series of steps that you take when you need to sit down and focus can actually train your brain into being able to concentrate on a deeper level.
Creating a study routine with a predetermined set of established triggers can be an important part of helping to maximize the hours that you spend studying. It's part of a still not yet fully understood area of psychology called neuroprogramming or neural coding, where an external stimulus elicits a specific group of neurological responses. Or, in more layman's terms, it's called a Pavlovian response. You may or may not have heard the story of Pavlov's dogs. A man rings a bell every time he's about to feed his dogs. The dogs start to associate the sound of the ringing bell with lunchtime, and they start to drool. Eventually, after ringing the bell often enough and following it up with an immediate feeding, the dogs drool whenever Pavlov rings the bell, regardless of whether or not there's actually any food available. The same thing can be used to help trick your brain into focusing more deeply. By establishing predetermined triggers, you can tell your brain that it's time to focus, and you need to study.
For me, it involves lo-fi music, a tumbler of water, and usually a cup of coffee. I don't really need the caffeine, but the smell of coffee somehow tells my brain, combined with the lo-fi beats, that it's time to get stuff done. The fact that the music doesn't have any words means that I'm less likely to get distracted, and the water's there to offset the fact that I am just chronically dehydrated. Seriously, drink water, okay? And the last and final step for getting ready for this brave new world we're walking into, be kind to yourself. This is a unique situation. A lot of us haven't fully adjusted, and our situations will be perpetually changing. If you're going back to school in person, but your school or state experiences a re-outbreak in the coming months, it's entirely likely that you will be switched back to online learning at a moment's notice. Being able to go with the flow and keep things flexible is going to be key to that, but cut yourself some slack right now. Talk to your teachers when you're struggling. Let them know. And talk to yourself. Be honest with yourself about your commitments and how much time and energy you have to give. Try to avoid overextending yourself right now. Yes, we have more free time because we can't go out, but that doesn't mean we need to schedule every minute of it. Take care of yourself. Drink water, get sleep, try to eat something healthy at least once a day, and just go easy, okay? This is going to be a unique and changing situation for a lot of us, and there's no reason to become your own harshest critic right now. Whatever you're doing, and however much you have to give, it's enough. If, like so many millions of others, you are joining us in the back to school brigade, there are more helpful pieces of advice like this at thenerdynanny.com, including a list of resources for online learning and several articles by homeschooling professionals and teachers about how to set up an effective home learning environment. In the meantime, I'm going to be starting grad school tomorrow, and since I still have no idea what I'm doing, I'm just going to go ahead and review the lecture notes that they already have posted online for the third time. I'm sure it'll be fine. It's going to be fine. It's going to be fine, right? Oh boy.